I previously teased a video on irrevocable life insurance trust, or ILITs. That video is coming, but in order to understand an ILIT and how it works, you need to understand the foundation upon which that kind of trust is built, and that's the Crummey Trust. A Crummey Trust is very interesting in that it allows you to lock up money in trust for the benefit of your family, tax-free and completely sheltered not only from your creditors, but those of your beneficiaries. Oh, and by doing so, your estate can mitigate, if not outright avoid, estate tax of almost 40% on your death. Do I have your attention? Good. I'm attorney Andrew Bethel, here to help you create generational wealth. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone you want to unlock the secrets of generational wealth, and let's dive in. So what is a Crummey Trust? A Crummey Trust is an irrevocable trust that allows someone to provide financial assets to beneficiaries without using their lifetime gift tax exclusion and completely sheltering their assets. There's a lot to unpack there, so let's get started with the irrevocable aspect of it. The Crummey Trust needs to be irrevocable because that's what creates the necessary degree of separation between your estate, the trust estate, and the beneficiary's estate. Essentially, my estate is here, the trust estate is here, and the beneficiary's estate is here, and there's no touching in between the three. The trust is irrevocable, so now it's an entirely separate entity. I put the money into that trust, I cannot get it back, but I can still control that money. I manage the purse strings, the checkbook. Now, the beneficiary is, well, the beneficiary of the trust, and they can access a limited portion of that trust corpus, the money, but only for a limited time, and they're not going to. The trust is going to say what money can be used for that beneficiary, and I'll be in charge of that. Next, let's talk about gift taxes. When I put money into that Crummey Trust, it is technically a gift of that money from me to the trust. It's a separate entity from me. I'm just giving it the money and not getting anything in return. However, the IRS isn't going to let us get away with that. So we're going to have to jump through some hoops to prevent the IRS from breaking down your door. In order for that truly to be a gift, I cannot just give the money to the trust when the trust says don't give it to the beneficiary right away. What we need to do is have that deposit characterized as a gift from me to that beneficiary on the other side. And the way we do that is when we deposit the money into the trust, we have to send what's called a Crummey Notice to the beneficiary that I deposited money into the trust and you have X number of days, usually 30, to exercise an option to withdraw that amount from the trust, or else the money stays in trust. What that does is it creates a gift from me to the beneficiary, but where the trust acts as an intermediary, essentially an escrow. And because the beneficiary has the option to withdraw the gift, even for a limited time, that gift is then considered a present interest gift, as in you can get it now, and because of that, this now falls under our annual gift tax exclusion. I've talked about annual gift tax exclusions 100 times. It's the amount you can give to a person in a year without having to pay a gift tax or even tell the IRS you made the gift in the first place. Remember, it's the giver of the gift who pays the gift tax, 40%. You can give up to a limited amount to one person in a year without paying the tax, but if you give more than that, you need to report it and either pay the gift tax of 40% or apply it towards your lifetime gift tax exclusion limit, which I'll come back to. The current annual gift tax exclusion amount is $18,000, and that is per person, per recipient. That means if mom and dad have 2 kids, mom can give daughter and son $18,000 each, and dad can give daughter and son $18,000 each. 4 times 18 is $72,000 per year, the amount mom and dad can give to their kids each year and not have to even tell the IRS. Don't worry, I didn't forget. With the Crummey Trust, yes, they technically can pull the money out in that limited window of time. However, they're not going to. We're going to go into this with everyone all on the same page with the understanding that if they were to exercise that right to withdraw the money, then no more deposits into the Crummey Trust. Fun time is over. Now that we've got the money in there, let's talk about the sheltering aspect of a Crummey Trust. Because it is an irrevocable trust and a separate entity, that money is not mine. It also doesn't belong to the beneficiary. Because of that, my creditors cannot come through me to get to that money in the trust. The same with the beneficiary's creditors. The only way a creditor touches that trust's money is once it hits the beneficiary's hands as a distribution, or the trust owes someone money, which is not going to be the case. It's not how you're typically going to be running this type of trust. It's because of that irrevocability and that separation that we can shelter this money, keep the creditors out, and build robust generational wealth with smart investing or perhaps a life insurance policy. hint hint for our future ILIT discussion. Okay, we have the trust set up, we have the mechanism to put the money into it tax-free, and we're protecting that money from the bad guys. What about estate and gift taxes? Don't worry, I see your confused look on your face because we already talked about gift taxes, but now we're going to talk about lifetime gift tax exclusions and the estate or death tax. When you die and all your assets together exceed a certain threshold, then the government is going to want 40% of that overage with an estate tax. However, that tax doesn't kick in until your estate is worth above a certain threshold, which means so long as your estate is below the threshold, no taxes are owed. That threshold is the estate tax exclusion amount. So what do we do if we want to make sure we stay below the threshold when we die? Well, we reduce the value of our estate by giving that money away, but still retaining control. Remember, that Crummey Trust is separate from me. I don't own the money over there, so it's not part of my estate when I die. Which means that each time I deposit money into that Crummey Trust, I reduce the value of my estate to avoid an estate tax. I shelter that money over there, but I retain control as trustee and direct how the money is to be used. Then when I die, my estate stays below the estate tax threshold, so no 40% tax, and that money is still over there in the Crummey Trust. That's not subject to an estate tax. Assuming I did well managing that money, those beneficiaries now have an estate tax-free, gift tax-free, and creditor protection bank to support them. Now, keep in mind that there is a lifetime gift tax exclusion, which is the same as your estate tax exclusion. If the estate tax exclusion is $1 million, then anything I pass on below that number goes out estate tax-free. However, what if I want to tap into that exclusion early? Well, I already have an annual gift tax exclusion of $18,000, but what if I want to give away more than that in a year? Let's say I want to put $100,000 into that Crummey Trust. How do I do that? Well, the same way we put the $18,000 in, putting it into the Crummey Trust, notifying the beneficiary of the right to withdrawal, which they won't exercise, and report a gift of $82,000 to the IRS. $100,000 minus $18,000, the annual exclusion amount. Then we tell the IRS that I want to apply that $82,000 toward my lifetime exclusion amount, $1 million in our example. That would then mean when I die, it will be as if my estate tax exclusion limit had been $918,000, $1 million minus the $82,000 I already used during my lifetime. So if we're short on time and we want to move a lot of money quickly, we can do that, but we would be tapping into our estate tax exclusion amount, which, depending on the circumstances, could expose us to an estate tax more easily. The trade-off, however, would be sheltering the money in the Crummey Trust. Let's close the book on taxes and discuss what taxes the Crummey Trust would be subject to, because no matter what, you can't escape all taxes. In this case, we have income and capital gains taxes to worry about. The Crummey Trust will be subject to income taxes on its earnings, just like everyone else. If, however, the trust distributes that income to the beneficiaries, then the tax burden can be passed on to the beneficiaries for them to pay on their personal tax return. The reason to do this is because trusts are taxed at a higher rate on income than an individual. Depending on the amount of the assets and the income, the trust can easily reach the top marginal tax rate of 37%. However, it takes a lot for an individual to reach that top marginal tax rate, so the beneficiary paying the taxes personally means a lesser amount of money ultimately paid to Uncle Sam. Then we have capital gains taxes. The same principle would apply here as to income taxes. The trust sells assets, then it has capital gains, then the trust will have to owe a capital gains tax, 0, 15, or 20% depending on the circumstances, just like us. Additionally, if the trust distributes those earnings in the year in which it was earned, just like income, then the beneficiary can pay for their portion of the capital gains tax on their personal return with the expectation of ultimately paying less in taxes than if the trust paid directly. All right, to bring it all together, a Crummey Trust is a trust that allows you to lock up your money in trust for your beneficiaries, do so tax-free at deposit and your death. It reduces the value of your personal estate so we can avoid estate taxes and keep that money completely sheltered not only from your creditors, but those of your beneficiaries. And if you're wondering why it's called a Crummey Trust, that's just because it's the last name of the guy who did this in the first place, won his fight with the IRS, and now set a precedent for us to do this. Also, keep in mind, there are modifications you can make to a Crummey Trust to accomplish different goals or pursue different investment and wealth building strategies. One of which is the Irrevocable Life Insurance Trust, which we'll talk about soon. For now, let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Have you heard of a Crummey Trust before? Did you know that they could be so powerful? Do you think it's all a bit silly? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. I'm attorney Andrew Bethel, here to help protect your estate and build generational wealth. And I'll see you at our next meeting.